she gonna work? There you go.
That's good.
Did it work?
I'm glad. I don't think I'm gonna have to have that conversation.
Well, I didn't have to anymore, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have to have that conversation.
I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order and ask you to silence your phones and join us for the invocation with Pastor Little.
Let's bow our heads together. Great God, thank you for a great day. Had a funny thought, Lord. Someone one time wrote a song, rainy days and Mondays always get me down, but not today. It rained on a Monday and we were all thankful for it. So thank you for rain. Thank you for blessings that you give. Thank you for health and strength, things we take for granted every day, big things, little things. We're grateful. Now, would you bless tonight all the proceedings that are going to take place, any decisions, Lord, that are going to be made. I pray for divine direction. I pray for your abundant help, clarity of thought, and all of those things that are necessary to make good decisions. Bless our city leaders, bless their homes, bless every family in Bowie, God. I just pray that you would bless us with good things. We don't ask selfishly, we ask so that we can be a blessing. And we give you thanks for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for the full house tonight. First thing we'll do is items of interest, community interest. I don't particularly have anything on the agenda. It's a slow end of August, so if anybody has anything else they'd like to bring up, you're welcome to do so now. If not, then we're going to move on to the public hearing for the tax rate. So on the record, we will open the public hearing at 6:01. I'm going to read you this document. This hearing is to inform the public of the proposed tax rate of 0.5430 per $100 of property value. This is a 0.312% decrease in last year's rate. The meeting in which the tax rate will be adopted will be September 26th. City Council meeting at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. Do you have any public comments about the new set tax rate? Well, if there are no public comments, I will close it at 6:02. Next item on the agenda is the city manager's report.
as you can see from your agenda tonight, North Texas Regional Planning Commission has made the decision to stop helping cities in the region with application and administration of the Community Development Block Grant. We currently have a grant application in with the Department of Agriculture that if awarded, we would need someone to do the administration of the grant. This is the reason we're terminating the contract with Nortex. We will then start the process of solicitation of a grant administrator just in case we do get funded with a grant. We must solicit with 3 different grant companies and then pick which one we want to use. We've been through this process before and it's pretty simple. However, TDA rules are such that we must score grant agencies before we pick one. This holds true for the downtown revitalization grant also, which is in, we've made application for that too. Our monthly cost on computer service from Relevant Tech will go down approximately $740 a month because of the grant from the Pretty Foundation, which is coming from the PC Net service. As you know, the grant was for all of the new equipment, which included service for the next 3 years. So that is paying off for us very well. We've ordered the incinerator for the solid waste grant, and it should be in soon. We can now start burning paperwork and evidence from years of police work when we get permission from the judges in each case. Pamela Woods, the finance director, and I had a meeting with Waste Connections this past week to discuss our billing and some problems we were having. Pam is in the process of doing an audit on our trash billing and our billing from Waste Connections. We're making sure that we're getting billed properly and that our citizens' trash is being picked up according to our contract with them. This will be an ongoing process through the month of November, when we should have all the kinks worked out. One bit of information we got from Waste Connections is they are installing tablet computers on their trucks to ensure their routes all get picked up, and it will really help their drivers to verify each customer and make sure they got picked up. Jay Evans and I sat in on a webinar that was put on by Texas Department of Emergency Management about the U.S. Department of Energy grant, which will be used for system resiliency and improvement. The grant will be a 5-year grant that will release about $30 million a year for improvements in the state of Texas, which is, if your calculations are good, that's a $150 million grant. The presentation especially got our attention when they said that smaller electric distribution systems like ours would have an advantage in the grant process. I've contacted Snyder Engineering, and we will sit down with them over the next month or two and determine what we can do to our system to make it more resilient. In plain English, we want to add another transformer to the substation and loop our system so that we can feed from both directions all over the city, which would improve the resiliency greatly. The grant application process will start in early 2023. The mayor, Jay Evans, and I sat in on a webinar with the Eaton Corporation discussing electric vehicle charging. Eaton makes electric vehicle chargers. They also sell other equipment and software related to vehicle charging. There are many factors to consider when discussing EV charging, and from a business standpoint, the main question is it worth doing? Considerations of equipment, cost, operations, and location are all factors that need to be considered. It's going to be a learning process for sure. With all the rain this week, we have a major problem on Nelson Street that involves the drop box drainage at the intersection of Mill and Nelson Streets. I had a meeting with an engineer this morning and another engineer tomorrow morning to get an estimate on the cost of doing this repair. We had to close Nelson Street because the stormwater is undermining the street, which created a danger of the street collapsing under the weight of a vehicle. As I always say, better safe than sorry. We did a disaster declaration today that we filed with TDM because of all of the flooding, especially in the metropolitan areas. The threshold for a FEMA disaster declaration is $48 million, but with all of the flooding and going on in Dallas County, if there happens to be a presidential disaster declaration, because we did the disaster declaration today, it will put us in line to get on the board with that and maybe get some grant money to fix Nelson Street. We're going to go ahead and fix it, but it would be nice if somebody else paid it. So, any questions?
What's the timeline on getting Nelson Street fixed?
Well, we just started talking with the engineers to figure out exactly what we want to do and what it's going to cost. So hopefully we'll be done in 3 or 4 months, but I don't know.
So we're going to have that street closed for that long as well?
No,
Like,
we'll probably, and Stoney and I have been discussing it, we'll probably go and dig out Nelson Street, and this is my conjecture, it's not Stoney talking. Dig it out to see how much is undermined and fill it in with base, and then open it back up just to make sure that that no car is going to fall in a hole on that street. So
Sure.
We've got to start there and get a cost estimate from the engineer. So I probably answer that question better tomorrow after I talk to Mike Tibbett. So
Sounds
we'll see.
great. I'll give you a call.
Any other questions for Bert? All right, let's move on to the consent agenda item for the approval of the minutes from the workshop and the regular meeting on August the 8th. A resolution authorizing city manager to write off uncollected utility account receivables over 15 months delinquent and authorizing city manager to write off uncollected library funds over 15 months. Thank you. Mr. Gunner makes the first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shaw makes the second. Love?
Aye.
Post? Aye. Shaw?
Yes.
Heffley? Oh, not Heffley. Gunner.
Keep going.
Sorry.
Aye. Looking pretty good today, huh?
So the libraries were really low. Utilities were pretty low too,
It's been better of late.
much better. Okay, we have a second reading, an old business for the ordinance 2022-04, an ordinance of the City of Bowie, Texas, amending the City of Bowie Code of Ordinance and amending Chapter 11 Utilities of Solid Waste, Article 11.2100, Solid Waste Connections, Section 11.2115, Monthly Rates and Collection Fees, by increasing the fees, updating the fee schedule for solid waste collection in the Appendix C of the Bowie Code of Ordinances, providing a savings clause, a repealer clause, and an effective date. As you all know, this is the sewer, the trash increase that you approved, well, that we talked about at the last meeting.
And we have to do this.
Yes, we have to do this. By contract, we have to do this. So I would entertain a motion to accept the ordinance as written.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Post? Gunner?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Shaw?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to go into new business, but because Pamela has a conflict tonight, I'm going to move her up on the agenda. So she's the very last item on the agenda. Actually, it's not necessarily her, but it's the ordinance for the budget for the City of Bowie. And if you let me read that, we'll move on to that. It's the item agenda 2022-05, an ordinance adopting an annual budget for the City of Bowie for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022 and ending September 30, 2023, adopting a referenced document as said budget and then establishing appropriations for the various activities and functions of the city, establishing an effective date and repealing all ordinances and regulations in conflict with. The proposed budget was in your packet. Pamela, do you have anything, where is she? Do you have anything to say about it?
Not unless the council has any questions.
Okay. If the council has no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the presented budget.
So moved.
Thank you. Post, do I have a second?
Second.
Love? Shaw?
Yes.
Gunner?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
And Love?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
Probably. All right, so we'll go back to our agenda items. The next new business item is the proposed 2022, 2023 municipal budget for the Bowie Economic Development Corporation and the Bowie 4B Sales Tax Corporation. We're going to take these independently. And Dean Myers is at the podium to discuss it with you.
50 years when I was in college, all us accounting majors avoided the governmental accounting classes like the plague. You had to unlearn everything that you knew that made sense and learn it the governmental way. So you'll have to bear with me a little bit on this format. It basically follows the format of most international financial statements where you have the revenue on the top section and you have basically a retained earnings reconciliation on the bottom. For the coming year, we anticipate that the sales tax revenues, which is our primary source of revenue, is going to be $564,000. That's up a little bit from last year. If anybody has a better guess of what it might be, we'd certainly like to know. Then we have also revenue from our leases. Primarily, that's the waste connection lease on the building on Highway
81.
81, yes. Okay, and then we have a small amount of interest income. Then we're going to transfer $846,000 from basically our retained earnings account into current operations, so that we will have a total funds to spend, or total budget revenue of $1,510,000. On down the budget, we have some administration costs, principally salary expense and payroll related, travel and training. We also have some building expenditures that are primarily the maintenance on the business park. Then we have some office expenses. Then the real purpose of the whole exercise is on the last page where it says expansion and recruitment. We anticipate, we have available that amount of funds to spend. We don't have any real specific projects going on, except we're in the middle of an EDA grant that we're trying to figure out if we got enough money to proceed and get the grant. And we have some other kind of expenses like insurances and bond indebtedness payments.
I'm good. You do a good job. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Anybody got any questions for Dean?
So on the EDA grant, if that doesn't go forward, does that number get reduced, or
Okay.
or how am I looking
Well,
at that?
the EDA grant, every year we go through and budget entirely what we can spend, because there may be something come up that we have some incentives for a business.
Sure.
So, but the EDA grant is a matching grant, and there's some specific projects that got to be done. So since the grant was kind of started and got awarded about 2 years ago, all the costs have gone up a lot. And if we don't know yet if we'll have enough funds to complete those projects.
Okay.
And we can't get in the middle of them and have one of these all shucks moments we don't have enough money, so.
And then on line item, under other, there's the improvements. Is that compared to the maintenance of the previous page? Is there overlap there, or is that just specific the maintenance amount, is that specific to the business park?
What page are you looking at?
I'm looking at 3 and also 2. So the maintenance on page 2, and then in the other section, looks like it's under line item improvements.
Oh, okay. On the maintenance, that's primarily the business park. The improvements are to our facilities across the street,
Okay.
main office.
Any other questions? I would entertain a motion to accept the Bowie Economic Development Corporation budget as presented.
So moved.
Shaw, do I have a second?
Second.
Gunner? Love?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Yes.
And Gunner.
Aye.
The next budget will be presented by Mr. Wallace, Ward Wallace. This is the Bowie 4B Sales Tax Corporation.
Okay, everybody's got a copy of the budget there. We're proposing about a 12% increase in revenue. Scientific guess there, but everything else is pretty well. I will bring to attention under reserved and restricted funds, we do have money that is set aside for the bond payoff. It's able to be called on August of 2027. So we've diligently been holding back money to make sure that gets paid off at an early date. That way we can look at another project at that time. Really, everything else is pretty straightforward. We have small increases, more or less for inflation, across the board on expenses, things of this nature. And that's really about it.
Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the Bowie 4B Sales Tax Corporation's budget as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Gunner, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Post? Love? Post?
Aye.
Yes.
And Gunner.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the reappointment to 4A Board of Mr. Charles Tyson and Zach Gunner. Each of these have to be done individually. I will entertain a motion to reappoint Charles Tyson.
So moved.
Mr. Love, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shaw, Post,
Aye.
Gunner,
Aye.
Shaw,
Yes.
and Love.
Aye.
The second individual is for Zach Gunner, who is also a reappointment to the 4A Board. I'd entertain a motion to accept his reappointment nomination.
So moved.
Okay, this one's going to Love. Do I have a second?
Second.
Post, Shaw,
Yes.
Gunner,
Aye.
Post,
Aye.
and Love.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
They have had a background check, right?
Well, no, we don't want to know that much about them.
I just want to make sure there's
All right,
no
all right.
relationship there. You know.
Our next,
That's the reason why we voted. That's the reason why we voted him in there.
Yeah.
our next one is a reappointment to the 4B Board of Mr. Tim Hall. I would entertain a motion to reappoint Mr. Hall.
So moved.
Gunner, do I have a second?
Second.
Shaw, Love,
Aye.
Post,
Aye.
Shaw,
Yes.
and Gunner.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. He's not here. Okay, we have some new appointments for the 4B Board, Mr. Seth Johnson and Kim Williams. So the applications are there. Most of you, I think, know both of these individuals. And I would entertain a motion for Seth Johnson to be appointed to the 4B Board.
So moved.
Shaw, do I have a second?
Second.
Love, Gunner,
Aye.
Post,
Aye.
Shaw,
Yes.
and Love.
Aye.
Second one is Kim Williams. She is here. I have a motion for Kim Williams' nomination to the board, 4B Board.
So moved.
Mr. Gunner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Shaw, Post,
Aye.
Love,
Aye.
Gunner,
Aye.
and Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, guys.
You guys are welcome to leave if you want to. I could see it in their eyes.
Thank y'all.
Blake, you gotta stay.
I was going to say everybody but Zach can leave.
Bye, y'all.
And the last item on the agenda is to consider the termination of the interlocal governmental cooperation contract for application and administration services, Texas Community Development Program between the city and Nortex Regional Planning Commission as recommended by and requested by Nortex. This was part of Bert's city manager report.
This is both the community development block grant and the downtown revitalization grant. So we'll have to pick administrators. If we get we may, I've been told that for the second part of the year, we might get funded on the community development block grant this year. If we do, we need to, and I'm gonna go ahead and start the process of picking grant writers and people that administer the grant. And the same thing for the downtown revitalization grant. We've already made application for that grant. Hadn't heard anything yet, so but we'll need to do both of them.
So will those be separate administrators
Do what?
for the community development and the other one? Will
Yeah.
they each have their own administrator?
No. Actually, their pay comes out of the grant monies, and it's usually at the percentage of about 5% of the grant. So, anyway, most of the grant writing companies that administer the grants and make application for them, it's second nature for them to administer the grants. They know how to do it. There's never a question about it. And, you know, they're so used to doing it, they make pretty good money for not doing a whole lot of work. So.
And why does Nortex not want to do it?
Nortex can't keep help. Their salary rates are extremely low, and as some of the older folks are retiring, they just don't pay enough. And in fact, at the last Nortex meeting, I was amazed that one of the county judges brought up the fact that they weren't paying enough, and I think they're gonna look into raising the pay, because the community development block grant and the other grants, downtown revitalization, we just got through with solid waste grant. All of those are revenue for Nortex, and so if they don't do it, that just lowers the amount of revenue they've got coming in. So, but hopefully they'll increase their salary levels enough to keep people. But that's their big problem right now.
Recently, they've had some tenured people, quite tenured people retire, and they haven't been able to bring back that knowledge.
Last year, a guy by the name had been there for as long as I can remember, by the name of Joe Cox, who that's what he did, is the community development block grant, and he retired. And then they had a lady name, Sandy, what's her name? Deborah Milburn, that worked at Nortex, and she was offered a job by a company called Grantworks, and she took that job, and she's making twice as much money as she was when she was at Nortex. So, and then they hire young people, and they come in and they spend 3 or 4 or 5 months, 6 months, and they get offered a higher paying job somewhere else, and they take it. Anyway, until Nortex, you know, increases their salary levels, they're going to continue to have that problem.
So, by request, we need to consider this termination agreement. So, do I have a motion to terminate the agreement between us and Nortex?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Post?
We have to do this, have to terminate their contract before we can get into contract with
Somebody else, yeah. Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Yes.
So the last item on the agenda is public comments, and I'm just going to make a comment about our election will be November the 8th. Is that what date it is? We had 3 applications, 1 for each precinct. So we won't be forced into an election this year. So those that applied will wind up on the council by default, and the City of Bowie is saving a significant amount of money. So,
What are we gonna do with it?
buy new chairs.
We'll see you a check tomorrow.
I don't need it.
So, with that, we
You don't
will,
want that kind of money.
we will adjourn at 6:28. This is for your records.
Sandy, we're buying me, my neighbor, Jacob